Welcome once again to Wesley Impact. I'm Keith Garner. Do you think young people are more at risk of being homeless today than they were 10 or 15 years ago? Thank you for being part of Wesley Impact once again. Today we're going to continue looking at a series about homelessness in Australia, the causes and the impact and what we can do to address the issue. And in this third episode of a four-part series, I hope you're finding it informative. We've previously looked at holistic work provided by Wesley Mission, the preventative work that we do, and we talked to Heather about the different things that we do in terms of finance, gambling, and so many other things with young people. And today we're going to focus very, very clearly on young people and homelessness. Jade Moloney from Wesley Mission's Homeless Services will joining me here in the studio, and we'll look at trends in youth homelessness, the causes and the work we do at Wesley Mission to address the issue. We work with young people across all areas of need, including housing and accommodation, education and employment, personal relationships with adults and their peers, and the areas of finance and mental health. We'll speak with Jade about how these and other factors can impact on a young person's life and how we can respond. Wesley Mission provides care for over 800 children through Wesley Dharma, and we do all we can to ensure that young people have the opportunity to pursue their dreams and fulfil their goals. We'll be joined in the studio by Laurian Smith and the Wesley Impact Band to sing an appropriate song, You Love Me, and I'll be looking again at Mark 4. Today I'm going to focus on what happens when Jesus finds the disciples on Lake Galilee in the midst of a storm, and how he brings in the midst of that storm a great calm. But first, let's take a look at some of the work with young people.
I can't imagine being a child and feeling unsafe. So for children to be homeless is just, it's unimaginable to me.
It will be a disaster to a small child.
I think it would be very scary. I think their whole safety net, what they consider to be their nest, is completely taken away from them.
They're like little seeds growing. If you don't take care of that right away, they will grow to be pretty destructive later on.
I would have to think that would be the worst thing in the world for a child to do that. I've got two nephews now, and if it got to the point where they had to live on the streets, I wouldn't be happy with it.
I cannot even imagine being on the streets for one night, even an hour, without knowing that I have a family and support behind me. It would be awful for them, awful.
Wesley provides a number of support programs for people who are homeless or at risk of homelessness. We have financial counsellors, we've got emergency relief programs, we've got an early intervention and prevention program.
Outside of homeless services specifically, Wesley's doing a lot of other work that is preventing homelessness and responding to homelessness. At the younger end, Brighter Futures is working with families who are vulnerable. There's Take Charge of Your Life, which is a Wesley innovation.
Wesley's Take Charge of Your Life program was launched to ensure that young people who were leaving the out-of-home care system had the support that they needed to transition into adult living. It was an accommodation first program. That meant that the focus was finding and securing accommodation for young people.
If I didn't go through this program, I would probably still be out on the streets because I wouldn't have been able to get my life together. I was living out of my car, living in friends' places. I was pretty much living day by day, not knowing where I was going to sleep at night. The life skills program and the housing programs and all the workshops that they support through Wesley, you know, they teach you how to live cooking, cleaning, with my bills. If it wasn't because of them, I wouldn't have a house over my head right now. I probably wouldn't even be living where I am or be happy with the place and the person that I have become. So just want to say thank you to everyone.
Seeing people actually move out of the grief cycle that they're in, out of the trauma that they've experienced, that foundation is an important part of actually feeling a part of the community and feeling like they belong.
As a rule of thumb, we generally talk about a year of support beyond homelessness for every year that someone has spent in homelessness. It's so important to end youth homelessness, catching it as early as possible rather than once the crisis has hit.
Please have no hesitation in being in touch if you'd like to find out more about our work here at Wesley Mission, or if we can be of some help to you or someone you know. Our email address is on the screen now, as is the website details. At Wesley Mission, we work towards preventing homelessness for young people. We also work with young people who, for whatever reason, find themselves without immediate shelter. To tell us more about this work, I'm glad to welcome Jade Moloney from Wesley Homeless Services. Welcome, Jade. Good to have you on the show.
Thank you, Keith.
Who do you typically work with? Who are the people that you work with?
We work with young people in Sydney, mainly in Sydney's inner west, who are homeless or who are at risk of homelessness. So that falls within the age bracket of 16 to 24. And
are there many in that age bracket?
Yeah, there are. Yep. Yeah, we work with a significant amount of young people who are homeless or at risk.
Increasing or decreasing?
It's increasing, unfortunately.
And why is that happening?
There's multiple reasons why people experience homelessness, but part of the reason why it's increasing specifically in Sydney is because housing and accommodation is really expensive. It's unaffordable for a lot of young people. So in addition to those financial challenges, if a young person is also experiencing other challenges within their life, perhaps family breakdown or domestic violence, mental health issues and an array of other things, this can really impact somebody in a way that makes them at risk of being homeless or then to become homeless.
One of the things I've been saying for a long time now is that I get worried when people get an immediate picture in their mind of what homelessness means, of the person on the park bench, the person with a bottle in Hyde Park. I mean, are those caricatures in people's minds when they think of young people as well?
Yeah, I would say that there is a lot of misconceptions around homelessness, and people do, see somebody that is sleeping rough on the street and assume that that encompasses all homelessness. But particularly for the young community, homelessness, while it is sometimes rough sleepers, it is mainly people who are couch surfing and don't have a place to stay. So they're jumping from home to home. Perhaps they're sleeping in their car, or they're just staying in places where their accommodation is temporary and not stable.
Yeah, a garage is no place to live, is it?
Yeah,
and that kind of thing happens. What are the factors that contribute then? You've alluded to the fact that it might well be the breakdown in a family and economic reasons. Are there other reasons why somebody might find themselves homeless?
Yeah, certainly. So a lot of young people who perhaps are experiencing mental health challenges and then unable to connect with appropriate supports. Perhaps they don't have a strong community around them, and if their family and relationships are breaking down, and in addition they're experiencing mental health challenges or disability challenges and they don't have those supports, then those things certainly contribute and lead to homelessness.
So what are the programs that we run then that help?
Yeah, so we run a fantastic program and we work alongside Youth Off the Streets and YWCA in our program. So together we offer crisis accommodation for young people who have nowhere safe to stay tonight. We've got 2 crisis refuges. We have a fantastic team of outreach workers who go out into the community and meet the young people where they are rather than the young person having to come to us. And then in addition to that, we have something called transitional housing, which is sort of longer term accommodation. It can be for up to 1.5 years, and it's supported. So if a young person is living in these houses, then they're connected with a support worker who will journey with them through jobs, education, living skills, and yeah, a variety of things like that.
Jade, the Christian faith means a lot to you, and is that, how does that relate to the work that you actually do?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, so the Christian faith really does mean a lot to me, and I think that throughout my life, Jesus has given me a lot of hope. And he's also taught me that nobody is hopeless or no one is too far gone. And so I think because of the hope that I've received from God as a Christian, and the message that Jesus teaches about other people as well, and hopefulness, it inspires me and it gives me the ability to, I guess, have hope for people when sometimes they don't have much hope for themselves.
And it can test our faith, can't it? You know, I'd have to say that there are times when, gosh, I feel really challenged by all of this.
Oh, absolutely, yes. Yeah, I mean, the homeless space, within the homeless space, there's a lot of injustice and inequality and things that aren't fair. But while we do see these things that aren't fair, it's also a great motivation to respond. And I think that working for Wesley Mission, we actually do have a lot of resources and time to respond to those needs rather than just seeing a great big need and not being able to do anything about it.
And have you grown as a Christian through this experience?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of young people that come through our program are so inspirational and encouraging. They, help me grow my faith and really solidify the message that there is hope for all people.
Jay, stay around a little longer and perhaps I'll come back to you at the end of the show. But it's good to have somebody who knows the lived experience alongside young people. If we can be of any help to you in this area or any other area of work with young people, be it helping someone to find a home, helping with employment or anything else, please contact us. I've got the website and the email address on the screen now. Welcome now, Laurian Smith and the Wesley Impact Band to sing You Love Me.
Surrounded by the most magnificent creation, it blows my mind to comprehend that it was you who made this grand design. everything you do is beyond the wildest exception. And everything you are shows you care. Everything you've done makes me believe. Everything I see and all I stare. You first loved me, just as it was given that you care for the birds in the air. How much more do you love me? Just as it is seen how extravagantly you bless the lily. How much more do you love me? Said you love me. 'Cause everything you make is grander than we could ever imagine. And everything you do is beyond the wildest exception. And everything you are shows you care. Everything you've done makes me believe. Everything I see in all I stare. You first loved me.
Experience the Galilee and the towns and cities where Jesus was raised and called his home. Capernaum, Nazareth, Tabgha, Magdala, Caesarea Philippi, Bethsaida, Tiberias, and of course the Sea of Galilee all feature in this 6-part series as Keith Garner explains the first century context of biblical events.
Jesus was born during a time of change in the political and economic leadership of this region. Fishermen around a lakeside was really one of the big businesses. Why Jesus? Why didn't people ignore him? Why did they take him seriously? And what are the questions we should be asking today if we're going to take Jesus seriously?
The Man of Galilee is available now and comes with a study guide for leaders, small groups and individuals. For more, visit wesleymission.org.au.
So you can visit the website to find more about this amazingly produced Man of Galilee DVD series. Look, it's an amazing tool for churches and small group studies, but for people to enjoy at home too. The website's on the screen now, wesleymission.org/Man of Galilee. So I hope you enjoy watching that. It's amazing that so many of the things I'm talking about from the Gospels in this week all occur around the Galilee. Now, I want to read to you Mark 4 and 35 through to 41 in this series from Mark's Gospel. That day when evening came, he said to his disciples, "Let's go to the other side." Leaving the crowd behind, they took him along just as he was in the boat. There were also other boats with them. A furious squall came up and the waves broke over the boat so that it was nearly swamped. Jesus was in the stern, sleeping on a cushion. The disciples woke up and said to him, "Teacher, don't you care if we drown?" He got up, rebuked the wind, and said to the waves, "Be still." Then the wind calmed down, and it was completely calm. He said to his disciples, "Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith?" They were terrified and asked each other, "Who is this? Even the wind and the waves obey him." So we're following a whole series of parables. Jesus tells his disciples to get in a boat and head for the other side, perhaps for rest after all the issues and people. The crowds were left behind, and the Galilee weather was infamous for sudden squalls or storms. Jesus was asleep, and with a touch of brilliant mark and detail, on a pillow. Why tell us that? Well, it's an accurate detail that gets you into the intimacy of the story. We're also told there were other boats with them. So this didn't just happen to Jesus and the disciples, it happened to others. The disciples awake. They awake Jesus in a very real sense, and he brings to the situation great calm. The wind threatens to swamp the boat. He's asleep and indicates he's not overly concerned. They're heading to a place of peace and discover it on the boat. The calm needs to come to these disciples. I don't think this is just the kind of calm because they're on the lake. It probably describes that lack of calm that was their experience in so many of these early incidents with Jesus in his ministry. So when the calm comes, it speaks of something very clear. Let's look at some of the verses that you find in this passage. Firstly, let me read verse 35. That day when evening came, he said to his disciples, let's go over to the other side. So it was a Jesus direction. It wasn't that the disciples decided to do this. There was a sense in which he said, let's go. He's wanting rest and renewal. There's nothing wrong in that. It's essential for all our lives. And Jesus knew for himself and for the disciples that renewal and strength was needed for them in the midst of all the ministry that they've been involved in, of teaching and healing and bringing grace to people's lives. Then in verse 38, in the same passage, we read these words. Jesus was in the stern, sleeping on a cushion, as we've already said. The disciples woke him and said to him, Teacher, don't you care if we drown? You notice they call him teacher, not Lord. They call him teacher because perhaps at this point he'd been teaching before. We've got a whole series of his teaching in parables before. But it's not quite the same as Lord. Lord will come later for them in many ways when they discover that he is the master of the waves that roll. He is the master over nature and all that comes there. But teacher leads them into that place where they haven't really fully discovered who he is and what he is. And the peace comes in the midst of the storm. Verse 39 in the same passage. He got up, rebuked the wind and said to the waves, Quiet, be still. Then the wind died down and it was completely calm. What an amazing experience for them. Peace in the midst of the storm. I mean, I remember years ago, Simon and Garfunkel singing about bridge over troubled waters. That's not the Jesus story. It is that journey through the storm, through the troubled waters, in the midst of all that might go wrong. And how many people, whether they be young people in a situation of homelessness, whether it be the people that we help in so many of our services, they go through storms. The one thing that Jesus can bring is a sense of real peace. And the disciples, we're told in verse 41, are amazed at his authority. Amazed. Who is this? Even the wind and the waves obey him. Even nature, even those things that we feel we have no control over, they are under his authority. Meister Eckhart once said this, the very best and highest attainment in this life is to remain still and let God act and speak in you. That's a truth for all of us to get hold of in our lives. And the journey of Jesus with the disciples on the lake is a powerful story.
If you would like to contact Keith and find out more about today's program, write to us at Wesley Mission, Post Office Box A 5555, Sydney South 1235, or you can send us an email to impacttv@wesleymission.org.au. On our website, you can catch up on past episodes of Wesley Impact, find out more about our work, read online magazines and articles, and connect with us on social media. You can also connect through Keith's blog and stay up to date on all the latest news and information from Wesley Mission, wesleymission.org.au.
Returning to our guests on the show today, Jade Moloney from Wesley Mission Homeless Services. We've been continuing that series looking at homelessness. Jade, I suppose the really practical question was, if a young person is sharing this programme with us and they're listening to our conversation, they're homeless, or perhaps even more penetrating, at risk of being homeless, running out of options, as it were, as they look at what they can do, what would you say to them?
Keith, I would say that, I would say to the young person, there is still hope. And I would want to organise to catch up with them, perhaps for a tea or a coffee, to meet them where they're at. And to see what their needs are. And there's a wide variety of ways that we can assist and respond to those needs. So I'd really encourage them to get in touch with us and then move forward from there.
And you've seen people exactly in that situation where the options are cutting down, there doesn't seem any. You've seen that actually happen and seen people journey out of that at-risk place to a more stable life.
Yeah, we see it every day, yep.
That's very encouraging. And I'm grateful that Jade's been able to be on the programme today. We're continuing to see that there is really no one picture of homelessness that ties it all down and makes it simple. And we've realised it's not just about older people, younger people. It can happen to anybody. So I'm grateful that we've been able to share that story. I'm passionate about trying to bring help to people who are homeless and people who are in need. And I think many people, you know, I hear sometimes, Jade, silly things people say. I sometimes hear people say things like, I think they want to be homeless. People enjoy being homeless. I've never met anybody who enjoys being homeless. No. They might well not talk about it very much, but it's a painful part of their lives. So thank you, Jay, for joining us on the show and sharing it to us something of the work that you're doing. And thank you for joining us wherever you are or watching. I'm glad that you've chosen to be a part of your life today. Join us next week for our final episode, when we're going to be looking a bit more at the work with families who are homeless. It's an important area of work where we look not only at individuals being homeless, but parents and their children. I look forward to seeing you again next week. I hope you'll make time in your diary to join us on the show, record it, be here, talk to us, whatever it is. Connect with Wesley Impact. We're delighted when we have people write to us or make contact with us here and share with us on these very, very important stories that are part of the Wesley Mission story. So God bless you. Thank you for finding the time. And I hope you've been blessed and challenged by what you've seen and heard today.
Wesley Mission helps people who are experiencing homelessness transition into permanent housing through Wesley Homeless Services. To find out more, visit wesleymission.org.au.